Now let's see how we can set up something that will allow us to control when this random scale will kick in. And one of the easiest ways I find, and it's a really useful feature to, or it's a very powerful and simple setup that I like to use very often. It's not a point weld, sorry to disappoint. It's through point wrangle. I like to use point wrangles to create my own blends. And in this case, what I'm going to do is make sure that I'm going to create an attribute called precisely. Let's go attribute create, not this, not at all. What's happening? Attribute create. And as you may have guessed, the attribute is going to be called myScale with a uniform value of 1 on all points. Okay, so that's what this will do, and that's what's coming in on this side. You can invert it, it's fine. So yeah, let's actually invert it. Might make more sense. So on this side we have the uniform attribute myScale, and then we have on the other one the effect, the sophisticated effect of having a noise affect the scale of each one of the faces. And this is going to be for us to control when this comes in. So let's call this blend scale anim. Even though the actual scale is going to be applied here, the attribute that's controlling the effect of scaling is being prepared up here. So if that's the case, then we can just control it outside without having to worry about what's happening with this nested for each loop. So now the goal is going to be for us to kind of set that myScale, which is currently equal to 1. It's going to be equal to a linear interpolation between the current value of myScale, which is 1, the myScale value. So let's read the myScale value of the second input using a point. On the second input, myScale, same point number we're going through on this point wrangle, and the control for that, for blending between one and the other, is going to be a channel that we're going to be calling blend scale anim. Why not? Let's click this magic button, and now we have 0. So if we have 0, we should not see anything happening. But we can blend in the effects. How awesome is Houdini? You can just play with the parameter, and it's playing in real time, 4 layers. No need to simulate or anything, it's beautiful. Okay, so now we'll be able to animate. Let's say we have an artifact that's in its stable condition. It's disturbed at a certain point in time, and it starts kind of having that extra effect of random scale on each one of the faces of each one of the layers. Awesome. So let's animate this. Let's say it's stable for 2 seconds, and then let's alt click, create a keyframe, and in 2 seconds it gets very disturbed. Let's give it 3 seconds. Alt click, let's switch this to a blend to 1. Well, that's weird. It's not a bad effect, but it's not what I was expecting. So it means that it's not reading the attribute of myScale 0.1 oh, of course it was going to 0 because this attribute does not exist. It needs to have an underscore. It was still kind of interesting effect though. Okay, now we should see it kicking in. And there it goes. Starting to get disturbed. We can also kind of, yeah, I think it's cool. Yeah. Okay. So now we have that system that allows us to control where the or when the effect kicks in and when it kicks out. So let's say the last 2 frames just go back to normal. So let's alt click and then alt click to 0 and stabilizes again. Maybe not the last 2 frames. Let's just offset these two. I just shift click on the control on the parameter, and I'm gonna just give it 1 second to kind of, maybe let's also grab this one. You can grab it here if you want. So just shift, click and drag, and then middle mouse button, and you'll be able to kind of just drag it. Okay, so kicks in, stays like that for a few seconds, and then it stabilizes again. Perfect. Now let's make other things happen. So on the next one, we'll start to add a bunch of other effects as well.